Panda anthem.
Ian, what's up?
Red Panda anthem.
Red Panda, what's good?
Red Panda anthem.
It's your boy.
Going up.
What
So
do you
inverted
think?
yield curve.
Let me ask you, Ian. What do you
Right.
think could stop China from becoming the number one superpower? Because the road to inevitability is looking,
nuclear war.
ever so
That's
serious.
the only thing. It's inevitable. I probably it's funny you said that 30-year mark when racism and classism will kick in, because I have like in 34 years, China should be number one.
Well, one thing that America, to play devil's advocate,
God's advocate. We do God's advocate.
Yeah, I like that.
to play God's advocate, I like that. To play God's advocate, I'm not really sure what that means, but I'm not really sure what that means.
What, God's advocate?
Well, because devil's advocate is supposed to be
The
like
opposite,
your
right?
opposite, right?
Antagonist.
Yeah, let's just take the other side.
Antagonist.
No, I
of
mean,
the
God,
argument.
it's just, critical thinking.
Okay. So to play God's advocate, America has its issues. But one thing that America has over China is a political system that is progressive, way more progressive than China. No matter how you feel about America, communism, I know it's not a straight form of communism, but it's still a level of communism. Communism is not the answer and is not progressive and leads to issues where America, a more diplomatic approach is a reason why it was able to become the strongest nation in the history of the world in a very short period of time. That was through an ingenious plan that was put in place. And they didn't take Europe's model. Europe's model was to conquer the world through imperialism. America's model was to conquer the world through diplomacy. And they did a good job with it. And they still have
that model,
but let me finish. The American flag is still strong all over the world. McDonald's, like these is companies, Apple, all of the top companies in the world are American companies. The American flag is not just spread through politics. American flag is spread through business.
And influence.
That was the most genius thing that America understood. They understood that business is going to lead the way. So now you got Apple as a world leader. You got Google as a world leader. You got Tesla as a world leader. You got ExxonMobil as a world leader. So these company flags is just as strong as the American flag. So anywhere in the world that Apple has their flag planted, that's America.
But what happens when these companies decide to say, we don't want to be American companies, we're just us?
And we're global citizens.
Yeah.
Well, that's a long way. That's hypothetical. But
those are the forming models that we're seeing though right now. Is that if you got your factories in Berlin, you got some in China, you got some over here, you're satisfying the world right now. I mean, America itself, the United States of America is a corporation. And these other businesses, these corporations do business with their corporation, right? And when they don't like the president is not giving Tesla his time up there when he giving speeches and thank yous, that's an issue. So they'd be like, well, I don't have to be a part of the American model. I mean, he's a South African man in the first place. You understand?
What's the top 10 Chinese companies?
Oh, shit.
Alibaba.
Exactly.
But
exactly.
I'm gonna let that brother do it.
That
ain't my thing.
We're gonna be real. I was on this campaign for a long.
Those are not household names.
TikTok.
They have
why was everyone trying to invest in them last year then? Because I was the only one railing that nobody should invest in China.
China Mobile. These are all top.
They're not household names
for us.
For nobody. They're not
but
Google.
China is
they're not
buying,
Apple.
China
they're not
is
Microsoft.
buying the world, though. That's
But to tie in from earlier, Bitcoin was created supposedly by whom? A non-American asset. You guys, not you guys on set, but internet railed to me about Ethereum, decentralized. JP Morgan created the platform and foundation for Ethereum. While they killed Ripple, no one said anything. Ethereum didn't take off until Ripple went to the downside. That's why that lawsuit is so key. Third, if all people care about is money and gains, you don't think the Chinese are over here pushing the narrative of these apes, yacht club, DAOs, and buying all the real estate to then take over America?
Come on now.
So the same sanctions that we place on Russia for dealing with Ukraine because his son's business was there, China is going to do that same shit to us and corrupt us from the inside.
And also let me add on to that, because if the world going digital, right, the geographical landscape don't matter the same. It's about who own that digital world and who is more adopted into the digital world. You understand me? It's the Asians.
And smart, and they own a great portion of Africa, a great portion of Latin America, majority of all the real estate assets here and in the UK. And only a matter of time.
When they made a block crypto, but they didn't block NFTs. Why you think that is? You understand me? They want to own the digital world. When it comes to technology, they are always the top in that sector. So if people are spending the weight, either military occupation or influence. That's how societies run the world. America is the world's police, but their influence is not something that the world wants anymore. People are being less and less wanting to be Americans. You understand me? The expose of America has happened. You understand me? When we see all of these love and hip hop shows. You understand me? People talk. They don't want to be American.
They give us all the
influence.
In Black community, they give us all entertainment and bullshit to dumb us down because we're the most creative people on earth. But if they poison our brains, food, family structure, any desire, even when people are like, hey, we need to build, like most people don't even want to build together. I'm gonna be real. Let
me say
real quick. What entertains you?
Wait.
Trains you,
yeah,
right?
that's a fact.
So we know that.
No. Let me say this. Because history was my favorite subject.
Mike Clip something.
History.
I always love when you do that tone too.
How do you know that?
History was my favorite subject. Empires fall for one or two reasons: negligence and overexpansion,
but also population.
But listen, overexpansion. Every great ruler never was satisfied, and they kept pushing. The problem with overexpansion is that you spread yourself too thin. Before it was you spread your army too thin. Now it's you just spread your resources too thin. This is why it doesn't work. It's not a workable model. It didn't work for Great Britain. At one point, they said the sun never sets on the British Empire because they controlled the whole entire world, from Australia to Jamaica to America. There was no part in the world that Great Britain didn't have its flag. It didn't work. It's something that works short term. It's not a long-term sustainable model. So what China is doing right now, they're stretching themselves very thin. And we have to see if the difference is that they do have 1 billion people. So that's different.
But define it didn't work though.
Look at Great Britain. Look at Great Britain. To where they were 200 years ago. Listen, look at Great Britain. In a short period of time, Great Britain's influence, their power, their wealth has dramatically decreased. And America has gone in the opposite direction. America is a broken off colony from Great Britain. Look at the irony in that. America, we speak broken English. We don't even speak correct English.
Correct English. True.
We went to England.
And that's where Black culture comes from, technically.
I mean, you go.
So what I'm saying is that you got a broken colony that became the greatest superpower in world history from England in a very short period of time, because England, that model did not work. It failed. It failed for them. Yeah, they still have power. They still have influence, but they're nowhere near as dominant as they was 200, 300 years ago.
So what's the biggest piece that will allow a person
chime in real quick? I want everyone in the military to military only. How many American bases do we have in other countries? Talk about overextension. How many years since 1900 have we not been in war? Overextension.
Bro,
I keep saying it.
Let's look at this, because I think one of the biggest pieces on the global scale is Africa. You understand me? And who controls Africa is going to have the most leverage. The world. You understand me? To control the world. Who controls Africa right now? America don't have that leverage. China is leveraged in there because they buy in the love and trust of the people. You understand me? When I went over there, I'm talking to my African brothers. They didn't have an issue with China. They said the reason they didn't have an issue because they may be coming over there buying, but they not bringing their culture and forcing them to change. That's what they told me. You understand me? And so Africa population is set to double by 2050. America population is going to decrease in births, you understand me, from deaths, I think they said in 3 years. And COVID increased that model. So America has less innovation, an older society, you understand me? They're decreasing in power, and those who are in power are of the majority that will be in a blended mix of things. So America has so many different things that they have to do in order to maintain the status and position they have now, because we know how many people over there in China. And then Africa got because there's no infrastructure in Africa, the new payment models, blockchain, all the stuff we talking about, you can just build it. You ain't got to tear nothing down. You can just start. So Africa is going to be the central hub. And I think the key to massive power and influence, because I believe that what we're doing will have such an impact on the world that we're going to guide our people to see ourselves as a nation. And that 1.7 trillion spending power is Apple. You understand me? Kanye West always talk about that. Like, we're comparable to having the power of Apple if we knew how to utilize it.
But we don't want to stick together to do that.
But we got the greatest export on the planet Earth, and that's culture. So if we ever utilize media to control, define the narrative of culture,
and now we're going to the building power. But we don't own the culture.
We just had this conversation.
But we just had a conversation about new culture, and we creating a new culture. I'm not trying to protect the old culture, because the old culture is steeped in death. We don't have a culture of life. So the new culture is when we go out to London, instead of somebody walking up to me and saying, "What's up, my nigga?" They say, "Yo, what's going on with the wealth?" You understand me? Teach me about the stocks and the crypto and the real estate. So we are exporting financial intelligence, and that's going to have a mass impact and disruption that we don't work for them. Nobody told us to do this. They couldn't have calculated this in their algorithm. Listen, you know, when you talk about America and you talk about why America has that influence, you have to come back to those Black and brown people in America, because we export our influence to the world. And it being $1 trillion export, we don't control it, but we make America cool. You understand me? So if we tell people America is not cool, you understand me? Then America loses a large portion of that influence. Because everybody knows Snoop, 50 Cent, and Pac. Once you go over those, borders, you feel me? And now they gonna know. Master Investor, 19 Keys, Rashad Bilal. You're talking about intro. I said two names.
Big billboard. But also in that culture, we saw shout out Game.
Shout out to shout out
Jay-Z. Jimmy Iovine just walked past Game, and Game on Interscope probably is the 5th best-selling artist to come through that ecosystem.
Oh, what do you mean? What do you mean?
They saw each other.
No, you said 5th best-selling artist
on Interscope, the label.
No.
In terms of rap?
No, Aftermath. Aftermath, you meant.
Aftermath.
Yeah.
The 5th best-selling artist on Aftermath.
Maybe the 3rd
best.
Yeah.
3rd best.
No, probably
Aftermath.
3rd best.
Not 4th.
Third best.
Because Dre's on it.
3rd best.
Yeah, 3rd best.
4th best. 4th best. Shout out to Game. Shout out to Game.
Yeah.
Yeah, M. Dre, 50.
So all that culture we talk about, okay, I want to ask you guys this from an economic standpoint. Google this. How much of the culture that we talk about do we actually own? Less than 1/2 of 1/16.
But that's the whole thing, because here's the thing: all of that is the potential power. So that at any moment in time, if we can create a disruption in the mass movement, where it's like with media right now, we got the ability to control our narrative by controlling what messages that we circulate throughout the culture in the world. You understand me? And that's having an effect in places that we know nothing about. Just by them getting access to this knowledge and information, we have an impact that we can't
now, if I
calculate.
can play God's advocate and take the other side of the coin, when that happens, same with culture. Who does that money go to upstream?
I don't know how you look at it, but the way I look at it is this: we
people criticize us.
There's a world that is and a world that we can create.
I got you.
Either. Now, I can't, because I love the way you analyze things, but my analyzation is the fact that I'm a factor in the world of disruption. You understand me? That
I
we may teach that one brother in Africa that make $1 billion because he got this knowledge. That's the way this thing works. And we may do business with him in the next 10, 20 years.
But if we
have billions of dollars that we
take
control.
The money to ARC, Robinhood, Vanguard, is that I'm talking about the upstream and what else money, the cycle of the money goes. So yes, we have been change agents. But if they put the money in the Vanguard, Robinhood, non-culture platforms, I'll say that. The buck isn't stopping, and our culture is going back out. That's why I say most creative people, and every creator is going through it right now on YouTube. All YouTubers, I was talking to my brother about this. Wait till YouTube rolls out their podcasting model, and what they did in gaming 8 years ago, they're going to do in podcasts. It'll probably 150,000 podcasts. And if you think the streams was bad now, wait till 4 years from now. They're going to monetize our collective creativity and culture at one time. Those payoffs on YouTube are nothing.
They already monetize it.
Yeah, unless
they monetize
unless Ian, right, to play God's advocate to what you're saying, unless that exportation of financial intelligence has somebody create the platform that we can build on.
It's like you gotta you got to crawl before you walk. So you can't feed a baby steak because they'll throw up. You can actually learn a lot from studying like children, right? And there's lessons in nature. If you try to feed a baby steak, they're going to throw up because they're not mature enough to eat that. If you try to put a baby in a marathon, it can't run. So a baby has to crawl. You have to feed a baby food. And then they mature into a child. Then they mature into a teenager. Then they mature into an adult. Right now, we still children. We still children as a collective. This isn't being disrespectful. This is being the truth.
It's a fact.
We in this country are still children. We're still learning how to walk. So we have to take baby steps.
In what regard?
So as far as we had 1% of the wealth when we were freed from slavery, we have 1% of the wealth now.
Probably less. Now, yeah.
So that's the regard I'm talking about. So, and I could say a variety of other things, right? So what we're learning now is financial literacy. We're learning the basics of financial literacy. We're learning 19 keys. We're learning how to become men, how to become women, how to stand up, how to have respect for ourselves. So these are things that we have to learn. We have to learn about stocks, crypto, real estate. We have to learn about that. The next step is, okay, now we have to actually start to own institutions. We have to have banking systems in place. We have to actually have hedge funds and investment firm, things of that nature. Then we have to start thinking global. Now we have to have politicians in place and we have to start connecting on a global scale. But we can't put the cart before the horse. Nothing is done overnight. So you never get discouraged by the pace, because ultimately everything happens only with God's will anyway. So we must be patient and we must understand that nothing happens before its time. It might not even happen in our lifetime. Only thing that we can be is good shepherds and actually lead the people in the right direction, establish the building blocks. Like we went to Egypt. It took hundreds of years. Like you can't just build a civilization overnight. Civilizations take hundreds of years, thousands of years to build. This is what we build, and we building a civilization.
That's
so first we got to civilize the people to even build a civilization. Then we have to educate the people. So now that the people is actually becoming civilized, now we have to educate them. And then the next step is actually building on a higher level.
Right. So and it's ironic that we got Nip behind us, but that really what you just explained is the marathon. Yeah. And so if we don't know what mile we might be at mile 2, right? Mm-hmm. And we may not make it to the 26.2. But we're gonna carry that baton until we get back to somebody.
Quantum leap.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? We might go from mile 2 to mile 15. We might not finish it, but we expedited the experience for everybody while we were here. And
I also want to give ourselves a lot more credit. You know, I'm always tough on us because I know the standard that we should have based on our potential that we're not executing that. But at the same time, we are people who face so many different things that's against us, and we still find a way to succeed and start to operate at the highest level. And what we've done so far is a showcasing of our brilliance. And what we're going to do next is the utilization of systems. And once we learn how to properly control our brilliance and put it into systems, there's nobody on the planet Earth, there's no system, there will be no thing that can stop the rise of the empire. You understand me? And that empire is this new culture that we go create with like-minded individuals. And those who control the world now planned this 100 years ago. Right. So for me, I don't have to see everything coming to fruition in my lifetime. Yeah. You understand me? But if I know that the work that I do 100%, I have no doubt in the inclination of my soul that it's going to have an impact to where it reverberates and create that vision that's in my head. And the most powerful thing that we have as a people is our collective mental energy and imagination. Because if we can all collectively imagine it, and oftentimes we don't put enough in our heads to produce in our realities. You understand me? We have so many images that's detrimental to our success. So when we give birth to those images, it's just a recreation of this oppression that we face on a daily basis. So I love to understand the depths of the problem, but I also have to understand the depths of the solution because we have the power right now. So we will be 100% the most main disruptive factor when he's talking about the world stage and what will happen in the future. Because it ain't going to be nothing that can stop us. That energy is impossible to stop. Once it's in that ether, it creates a new world. That's it.
This that Red Panda Anthem. Ian, what's up? This that Red Panda Anthem. Red Panda, what's good? Red Panda Anthem. Whole foot going up. I know they can't stand it.